All right, boys, I'm on here to share a little lesson that I learned tonight. Um, so I got my meal number 4 in, right? I was eating my last meal of the day, and I checked my watch to post on my Instagram story to show that I got my steps in. Because normally I just hit my steps because normally I'm just moving all the time. But I looked at it and it said 4,000 steps, and I'm like, yeah, I need to get walking here. And so I walked about just, I don't know, 3-ish miles. But while I was on my way back home, I don't know, I was halfway, some guy pulled over and was like, "You need a ride?" And I was like, No, I'm good. I'm just trying to get my steps in. Thank you though. Like, I appreciate the offer. But I just learned that it's like, to the average individual, you will be perceived as like weird if you're working on your personal development and you're on your personal development journey. And I've learned this in the past. And what this really taught me is that the willingness to be misunderstood is a superpower, because when you're bettering yourself, when you're following your routine, when you're going to the gym, when you're tracking your meals, very few people will understand why you're doing that. But it doesn't really matter, because you don't have to explain yourself to them. And I know that, that was kind of a random example when I was mentioning the guy pulled over and asked if I needed a ride, but it kind of ties into it because he didn't understand. Like, obviously, in his brain, he wasn't thinking, oh, this kid's out here just trying to better himself. He's just trying to get his steps in, trying to stay healthy. Who knows what was going through his head? Maybe he was like, maybe this kid's lost. Maybe this kid needs a ride home. Doesn't know, but he didn't understand. Even though my sweatshirt says better than yesterday, and it says it like massively on the back. It doesn't matter. Anyways, basically, when you are working on yourself, and I think a lot of bodybuilders will understand this, you'll resonate with this, is people are going to ask you, like, why do you go to the gym so much? Why do you track your calories? Why do you follow a routine? Why are you going on walks? Why do you journal? Why do you have a sleep routine? And it's just like, don't explain yourself to them. And I know I already mentioned this, but like, you don't have to, because you're going to be wasting your time trying to explain something to someone when they just will not understand. And I've tried to do it in the past, and only a few people in my family, like my mom, my dad, and my sister, and then a few of my friends, because they kind of do the same thing, obviously, but those are the only people that actually understand. Most of the time, people will be like, yeah, he has an eating disorder, or he's so obsessed with himself, that's why he goes to the gym. And it's like, no, I want to be jacked, and I want to be healthy, and I want to feel good, because when I go to the gym, when I eat healthy, when I show up for myself every single day, I have direction in my life. Like, I feel like I'm living a purpose-driven life, which I am, right? I'm living life with intention. And this is why so many people are mediocre. They're all average, and it's because they're all doing average things. They're living like everyone else, right? They're all on autopilot, and that's something I used to struggle with all the time. Always used to live on autopilot. Wasn't living life with intention. And I didn't even understand what personal development was. I didn't even know what personal development was 2 years ago. Had no idea. I just knew that I liked going to the gym and I wanted to be jacked. The reason I say the willingness to be misunderstood is a superpower, it's because when you don't care to be misunderstood, then you're no longer trying to satisfy other people. You're no longer trying to explain on why you're doing what you're doing just for their validation or approval. But when you're willing to be misunderstood, you're just focusing on you. You don't care. You're just staying committed to your goals. And then eventually, they'll probably see why you're doing what you're doing once you get the result of the inputs that you put in. Because if you're tracking your calories and you go to the gym and you get jacked, and maybe people start to see that you've developed like this unbreakable mindset, or you're very good at regulating your emotions, and because you listen to podcasts or you read books or whatever, then they're going to begin to see it. They're going to be like, oh, okay, I think I understand why he was doing that now. And it's because he was building that version of himself. But at the end of the day, again, doesn't really matter. Like, you don't have to explain yourself. The thing is, like, I lost a lot of people in my life because they didn't understand why I was doing what I was doing. They didn't understand who I was trying to become. For example, my girlfriend, we were together for just over 2 years, and she still couldn't even understand why I was doing what I was doing. And so we had to break up. I've had to cut off friendships with other guys because they don't understand, and they're like, yeah, you're changing. Like, I don't know, he's just like too judgy and stuff. It's like, it's so weird how people automatically think you're just judgmental when you're working on bettering yourself. And I think it's because they just feel insecure that they're not doing it, and they know they should be bettering themselves or going to the gym or eating healthy or following some sort of routine. And sure, obviously there are times where people are obsessed with themselves and they have an ego and they think they're better than everyone else because they work on themselves, but it's not the case for me. Like, I know that I'm pretty equal to all people. I just feel like I have different values, and a lot of people won't understand why I have that. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I got for you. Just when you're working on yourself, when you're working on your personal development, when you want to become a better version of yourself, be willing to be misunderstood. Don't do anything just to satisfy other people. Stay focused on your goals, stay committed, and stay consistent, because it'll be worth it, right? You're gonna be perceived as weird, like I said earlier, but you're probably doing something right if people don't understand why you're doing that, and you're not like everyone else because you're no longer living on autopilot and you're no longer settling with mediocrity. So just keep doing you, keep working on bettering yourself, because I promise it'll pay off.